All right, so let's go to replit.com and then log in into the account you made last time. So we can go to Replit. And then from there you click My Replit, and then you should find yours. Last time I named it Hello World. It should be whatever you named it last time. And we have it. Yep. Type something in chat if you got back to this thing we made last time. All right. So last time we talked about print. It's you can use to write things on the console on the right side. And input is you can type and it will store whatever you typed. And we also talked about you can have variables and basic operators, right? Now today, let's talk about more fancy things. So this time, there's a thing called if. Now, what do we think the if does? Let me just get rid of the other ones. So suppose I have number equals 5, right? So there's actually we have plus, minus, multiply, divide, module, and divide and round down. Now, there's some other operators. I'm pretty sure you've seen some of those. Greater or less than or equal to. Right? So I can write, so there's this thing called if, and it only runs the code below. I mean, it only runs the code inside it if whatever you typed is true. So if I say if number is like greater than 3, and then you need a colon, and then you go to the next line, it will automatically indent this. So it's basically one tab of space. So you will press tab for the indent. Or if you just colon and enter, it automatically does that for you. And I can say if number is greater than 3, print like the number is greater than 3. So if I just get rid of the other ones, no. So when I run this, it's going to print the number is greater than 3 because it's greater. So I can also say type another if number is greater than 6, then I could say print the number is greater than 6. Now, what will happen when I click run? When I click run, it's only because if number is greater than 3, right? Well, number is greater than 3, so it runs this part and print the number is greater than 3. Now you go back to the second if and it checks is the number greater than 6. And well, the number is not greater than 6, so it does not run this part. So yeah, that's if. That's if. If is you can type a statement behind it, and if it's true, it will run whatever is below this. So now this also there's also a thing called else. Now what this does is if the top part is not true, it's going to run the else part. So I could say print the number is not greater than 6. So now when I click run, well, is number greater than 6? It's 5 and it's less than 6. So it doesn't run this part and it goes to else and print the number is not greater than 6. Okay. Yeah, do we all listen to this part? Yeah. Yeah. Do we get this part? Yeah. Okay, get some chatting action. If you're good with this part. All right. So that's it for if. Now what can you put after if? So basically, anything that has a value of true or false, you could put it after the if. Number is greater than 6, this will either be true or false, right? It's either greater than 6 or not greater than 6. Now, but what if you want to check if a number is equal to another? Well, we know that equal is to make number equal to 5, right? But like we cannot say if number equals 5 because it's already used here to set the number to 5 and it's not true or false, right? So to make it actually comparing them, you'd have two equal signs. Number double equals 5 and if this number is 5 and if it's not equal to 5 oh, I could say this number is not 5. So if the number is 5, it's 5 equal to 5. Yeah. So the number is 5. And does not run this part. But if I say number equals 6, well, the number is not 5. Is 6 equal to 5? No. And it runs this else part. Okay, all do we all get this part now? Yeah. Okay, and get some chat. All right. So now we have if statements. But now let's talk about how we can use them together with everything we did last time. So here's a question for you guys. Right. So if I have a year, say 2022, no, I want to know what century it is. How would I do that? Does anyone have any ideas? So what we did last class. We can make this work. Anyone? Anyone wanna give some ideas? if I have a year and I want to know what century it is without just saying it's the 21st century, like using some math, so that whatever I change the year to, I will get the right century. Oh, do we remember the double slash and what it does? Well, if we have year, divide and round down by 100, and then plus 1, right? Interesting, right? I could also change it to like this. Oopsie. 1969, and then it's a 20th century. This is how you would use the operators we learned last time. Does anyone have any questions so far? Oh, all right. And so remember how we had variables that we can set to something, like a number or string? Well, have you guys ever heard of a thing called a function? You know what? Functions. You can actually define functions. So to make a function, you have to define a function. Now to define a function, you type def for define, and then after that, you can type the function's name. For example, I can just name my function f, and then after that, you need parentheses, and then inside it is your input to the function, what the function will be using, right? So if I have like define f of x, and then colon, now whatever I type in this will run when we run f. Now f is a function. I can say, yeah, print, if I just print x, right? So what will happen if I run f of 5? Well, f of x is defined as just print out x. So if we do f of 5, it will print 5, right? Uh, what if we want to use this for something else, not just print? Well, function, there's a thing called return. And what this will do, so if I do return x times 2, now when I run f of 5, well, nothing happens on the right side because I'm not printing anything. But if I print f of 5, now what return does is that, so basically it's going to make f of anything, and then it's going to return the value passed in times 2, which now that means f of 5 is 10, right? So if I print f of 5, then it is 10. Now, this does not work if you do not type return. So if I just do this, well, f of 5 is nothing. It, f of x prints on the right side, but it doesn't have a value. It just does this. So when you print f of 5, it's none because there's no value to it unless you return, like return x, then it prints 5 twice. Yep. Do you have any questions so far? Any questions? No questions? We all good with this part? Are we all good? And do we all understand how this works? All right. So now we know how to make a function and we know how to print. And we just did if statements. Now try to define a function. What if let's try to make a function that takes in a number and return true if it's greater than 100, and then return false if it's not. So how you would do this is let's just keep the f of x, right? So I could say if x is greater than 100, then return true. And then if it's not greater than 100, then I could actually type else here instead of another if, return false. Instead of calling it f, I could say like greater than 100. So if I print greater than 100 of, say, 101, well, what will the result be? It's true because, well, 101 is greater than 100. But say, what if we, instead of 101, we do 90? Well, it is not greater than 100, so it says false. All right. Do we have any questions or do we all understand now? Okay then. Okay, let's make a function that takes in a number and, well, let's return the square of the number if it's less than 100, and otherwise return the number itself. All right, who wants to give it a shot? Give out some ideas. We could use the function above too. If it's greater than 100, then print the number and return the number. And if it's less than 100, return the square of the number. Oh, wait, no, I didn't tell you guys how to square things, did I? So this is how you do it. So, for example, print 2, oh, it's going to print 2, right? Well, I guess 2 is a bad example, but so if I print 3, it is 3. No, normally, I mean, you can just do multiply by 3. But if you want to do like 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, well, it's annoying, right? So if you type 2 stars, that means like 3 to the power of. So if I do 3 star star 2, then it's 3 to the power of 2, which is 3 squared, and it will be 9. Yay. If you understand everything so far, type something in chat. If you don't understand everything, have, tell me any questions you have. And if you don't type anything, I'm assuming you're not here. Yeah, right? This one. Okay. All right. All right then. So that's it for function. Now, let's talk about this thing called a list. From the name, what do you think a list will do? Well, a list is a list of things. Yes, exactly. Mhm. Keep track of things. You can. In Python, a list is a bit different. It is literally a list of things. Yes. So, so how do you make a list? So if I call the list, I can't just name it list because this is actually a used name in Python. It's used as something like used as a function. So you cannot call it list. So let's call it like list A. And how do you make a list? You do square brackets. Now, why square brackets? I don't know, but they decided to use it. Now, right now, list A is empty, right? So if we print list A, well, it is empty. Now, how do we add things into it? Well, we could just do like 1, comma, 2, comma, 3, and then it has 1, 2, 3 in the list. Yay. But now what if we want to add things to lists? So here's where interesting things happen. So I have list A, right? And we need dot append. Now this is actually a function that is included with any lists. If you type dot append after, then it will add whatever inside the parentheses to the list at the end. So if I do a dot append 5, and then list a dot append 5, and then print list A again, well, the second time we print list A, we have added a 5. And you can keep adding as much as you want. Now, now, what if you want to know what a certain element in the list is? So it's interesting. So let's instead of 1, 2, 3, let's just use 1, 2, 3. That's good. So how you would find a certain element or a certain thing in a list, you need a position of the thing you're checking. So how we do that? Well, it's also with a square bracket. For list A, square bracket of location, then it will tell you the element. So actually, location, or we call it index, actually it starts at 0. So list A, square bracket 0, this will be the first thing in list A. So at 0's position is actually the first. It starts at 0 and not 1. Now, so list A at index 1, well, it's actually the second thing in the list, not the first thing. So this will actually be 2. Why did it make it like this? I have no idea. But most programming languages just starting at 0. So 0 is the first thing. That's how you read something from a list. So let's make something really interesting, right? So we learned how to make functions, and we learned how to use lists, and we have print, and we have if statements, and we did I go through comparing? Well, it's just less than, greater than, and equals. That's the only 3. Well, and we have variables. We can keep numbers in them. Well, do you know what we can make with these? It's really interesting. We can make a function that makes the list sorted. Yay! So let's get rid of this function. We can make define sort list, and it takes in a list. I could just call it unsorted list. Well, now we're going to sort it. Now, how do we sort a list? There's a lot of ways to do this, but let's do this the simplest way. We could say, actually, we're missing one thing to make this. There's, have you guys ever heard about loops? Anyone heard about loops before? Anyone seen while or for, anything like this? Anyone? Yeah? Yeah, so a while loop it's basically set like if I equals 0 while I is less than 100, I plus equals 1. No, it's going to increase I until it's like equal to 100 or greater than 100. It runs until while loop just runs until the inside turns false. Otherwise, it will go on forever. So, in other words, while true will run forever. Now, in Python, there's a thing called for, right? Now, what does for do? Well, there's actually a lot of uses for this, but basically, we could say we have a list A, right? Now, what if instead of like print list A, Now this will give us the entire list, right? But say, what if we want to print out each thing on like a single line? So we can actually do four, like I said, like four elements in list A. Now what this will do is that it will go through every single element in list A as element, and it will run the thing below. So if I do print elements here, well, it prints 1, 2, and 3. So for the first thing is 1, so element is 1, and then it prints 1. And then for element in list A, well, it goes to the next element actually. And then it prints 2. And then it goes to the next one, it prints 3. Now this is one way to make this. There's actually a second way. Have you guys heard of this thing called range? Well, and there's a thing called length. So this function, len, stands for length. And what this does is, well, it gives you the length of the object. So if I do print length of list A, well, how long is list A? It has 3 things. So the length is 3. So if I add like a lot of 3's to it, it has 5 elements. So the length will be 5. Now, range on the other hand, well, it's kind of like a list of numbers. And you have starting, ending, and step. We can ignore the step for now. But if you do range 1 to 100, well, this is basically kind of like a list. It goes from 1 to 100. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. And it actually doesn't stop at 100. It stops at 99. It does not include 100. Now, how is this useful? Well, we could actually say, instead of for every element, let's say we could say for I, for index, in range from 0 to the length of list A. For every index, print list A at the ith element. Now this goes from 0 to the length of list A, right? But following the logic, well, first thing is 0. So then the last thing will be an index of 4. But the length of list A is 5. But the thing with range is that it only goes from 0 to 4. It doesn't include this upper limit. So this is actually exactly what we want. Interesting, right? Oops. I know this part can be a bit confusing, but yeah, do we all know what this does? Yeah. So with this, we could actually, with all this, we can finally make a function that sorts a list. Yay. So I could define sort list, and we can name it unsorted list, and we can use this as our input, colon, enter. Now our sorting will be very simple. If 2 things are out of place, swap them. Otherwise, if they're all in order, then we know we're good. So we can make a variable called sorted equals, assuming it's not sorted, Well, I guess sorted is our use name. So let's call list sorted. It's not sorted, so it is false. And what we can do is check if everything is in the right order. Now, how do we do that? We can go back to for. Use I in range from 1 to length of unsorted list. Now, why is it from 1, you may ask? What we will actually do is we could say if unsorted list at the ith element is less than the one before it, less or equal to the one before it, then list is not sorted. Now here we can actually do an else. It is very confusing, kind of, but what this will do is that this will only run if the for loops complete. So we could do break here. Now what break does is it just stops the loop midway through and it just stops running it. Now if I put an else here, it's only going to run if and only if the for loops complete successfully without breaking. In other words, this only runs if everything is in order. So if everything is ordered, then it's sorted. Well, if list is sorted, then we just want to return the list, right? So what we can actually do is we can use a while loop here. While not list sorted, we can put everything under it. So this will check if the list is sorted, right? So now we can actually, instead of checking if it's sorted, we could use this a bit differently. We could say if they're out of place, swap them. Now how do we sort them? I mean, how do we swap the value of two variables? Well, we could use a temporary variable and set it to unsorted list at the ith element. Now this will save whatever value was in there. Now we can say unsorted list at I, and we set it to the other one. And now we want to set this one, the unsorted list at the previous place, to this one, right? To the one after it, if they're out of place. We want to swap them. But no, we already overrided that. They're the same value now. What do we do? Oh no. Well, that's what we made temp for. Temporary unsorted list at the previous location. Well, it will be set to temp. Now we have successfully swapped them. What we can actually do is itself doing this. Assume that list is sorted, and if anything is out of order, then list sorted is not true. Then it is not sorted, and then we will keep swapping them until everything is in place, and this if never runs through because everything is in order. No, actually we want less than here, not less or equal to. So now after this while entire thing, the list will actually be completely sorted. I guess maybe unsorted list was a bad name. Let's call that list A instead. This will be a lot of trouble. I'll see what I can do. Yeah, I'm going to rename it to list A. Well, now this will actually just return the completely sorted list. Now what I know this is list A and this is list A too, but this list A here is only for whatever's inside and it does not affect any list A on the outside. Now let's give it a try, shall we? You can say like list A equals like 3, 10, 7, 5, 4. And we can say print sort list of list A. Now guess what? Here, it's sorted now. Yay. All right, do we have any questions on how this works? Why this works? Or if it's not working? Okay, type something in chat if you have this working or knows how this works. If we know how this works or have made this before or have any questions, type something in chat so that I know. All right, so I guess we don't have any questions. We don't have any questions. Anything? No? No questions? Anything? Okay, if you can, if you understand this, type something in chat. Say that like I understand everything or something. Because yeah, without you guys typing anything, it kind of feels like talking to myself sometimes, and it gets a little bit annoying. All right then. Well, anyways, that's how you make a list. And that's how you sort a list. Now, we just made this just to make use of everything we have learned. It's actually a much easier way to do this. So remember when I said sort is actually like a function's name that's already used in Python? Well, because sort we could instead of doing this, we could say, let me just comment this entire thing out for now. You don't have to. Actually, yeah. So if I do list A dot sort, well, this sorts the list A and it makes list A the sorted list. And it just sorts list A. So there was actually this entire function here. It's not very practical. It's just to demonstrate what we have learned and make use of them. So yeah, A dot list A dot sort, that's how you sort it. Or alternatively, it's a second function called sorted. Now this function does not tell you if the list is sorted or not. It gives you a sorted version of the list. So this will do exactly the same thing as this entire thing. So if you just want a quick way to sort this, this is how you will make this. So just a few more things about lists. Common functions of lists, we have append, right? That adds a thing to the list. Now here's a very important function. We don't have any means of removing anything from the list right now, right? So there's this thing called pop. Why is it called pop? I have no idea, but it removes the thing from the list. So inside the parentheses, you don't type what you want to be removed. You want to type the position or the index. So if I want to remove 10 from here, I will do list a.pop 1 at index 1, which is the second element. So now what this will do is add 6 and remove 10. Now by itself, it just removes the last thing. So it added 6, and if you just do pop and you don't type anything inside the parentheses, well, it's going to just remove the last element that you added in. Or if you don't add anything, it will just remove the last thing. So now we will be removing 4. Now 4 is gone. And now if I have list B equals like 1, 2, 3. And if you want to join the two lists together, anybody want to guess how we can join lists? Yeah? No? Okay, do we remember how to join two like strings together? The characters, how you will join them together. So this is actually basically the same. So we have list C, we can say list A plus list B. So if we print it now, it's list A plus list B. So we just literally join them together like this. 3, 10, 7, 5, 4, that's list A, and then 1, 2, 3 from list B. So we have just joined them. See, that is a list of numbers. You could also have a list of characters or a list of anything, even lists. Yes, you can have a list of lists. Has anybody seen a list of lists before? Okay, so yeah, you could imagine if I say list A, the append. Now, normally you would add whatever you want to add to the list, right? But if you do list A, the append, and type list B inside, well, what is it going to do? It's going to add a thing, a list inside the list. Now, this actually breaks our sorting because you cannot compare a list to a number. So it can cause some issues if you're not careful. Now, once again, same as strings, you cannot subtract. It's only add. Only add. Okay. Now, here's another thing. Remember when I said only add? Well, actually, multiply kind of works too, but like a bit differently. So suppose I have list A, right? So I could do print list A, and what do you think will happen if I multiply it by 3? Well, in Python, what it does is actually it copies the list and make it 3 times as long. Just repeats it 3 times. Kind of like what you would imagine from multiply, right? And it's not just lists. You can also do hello 3 times. Strings or like characters, they work too. You can have multiply by number. So if you want like 100 A's for some reason, you could do this instead of typing 100A. No, just like lists, we can have like a certain element of the list. We can actually do it with words too, strings too. So if I like word equals banana, I want to print the first thing in word. Well, it actually works. It's kind of just like a list. This, in many ways, this is similar to a list. The differences are, however, well, you can only put words or characters inside this. And in lists, you can put anything inside the list. And you cannot change like the first character easily. So you cannot just do say like word, the first letter in the word, and you change to C. This will not work. Strings do not let you do this. You cannot just place a C in here instead of a B. But you can access them. This will give you B. And if you do a second element, this will give you an A. Right. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah. If you understand everything, can you type something in chat? Type in chat if you understand everything or kind of kind of knows everything already. Type something so that I know. All right. Yay. Nice. All right.